Hey, I'm Eric. I'm 28 live in a small town just outside of Sacramento, California. And I've been a firefighter for the past 4 years. It's all I ever wanted to be. Ever since I was a kid, I looked up to the guys in the red trucks, sirens blaring, running into danger while everyone else ran away. I used to sit on the curb in front of our house and wave at them every time a fire engine drove by. My parents thought it was just a phase, but here I am. I live alone in a modest two-bedroom house. I got a dog named Rusty, an old Ford F-150 that I've been meaning to restore, and a closet full of uniforms that smell like smoke, no matter how many times I wash them. It's a simple life, but I like it. I like the routine, the structure, the sense of purpose. My work means something, and I'm proud of it. Last Thursday started like any other shift. Morning briefing coffee that tastes like cardboard. Gear check. It was quiet for the first half of the day, mostly routine maintenance stuff and paperwork. Around 2:30 p.m., we got a call about a kitchen fire in a residential neighborhood on the west side of town. Nothing serious, smoke showing possible electrical or stove related. We were out the door in under 2 minutes. When we got there, the fire was already dying down. Turned out someone had left an electric kettle on the stove and walked away. The plastic had melted and started smoldering, but thankfully the smoke alarm did its job. The house was a single-story brick place with a red door and potted plants all over the porch. Classic suburban. We handled it in under 10 minutes. A little ventilation, a quick check of the wiring, and we were done. No injuries, no major damage, just the smell of burnt plastic lingering in the air. As we were packing up, the homeowner came outside. This woman, probably early 40s, maybe mid. She had this natural elegance about her. Tight ponytail, yoga pants, oversized sweatshirt, and those kind of eyes that catch you off guard. Not flirty, not cold, just sharp, like she was always thinking 2 steps ahead. "You guys are lifesavers," she said, walking up to us. "Seriously, I would have freaked out if I was home alone." "We're just glad you're okay," I replied. She looked me over, kind of amused. "And you don't even look old enough to be a firefighter," I laughed. "I get that a lot." "Well, thank you, really," she said, and then kind of unexpectedly stepped closer and reached into the front pocket of my jacket. "A small thank you," she added, sliding in a little folded paper packet. "Nothing fancy, just a sweet gesture." I was caught off guard but smiled. "Appreciate it," she smiled back. "You have a good day, hero." And just like that, she turned and went back inside. We drove back to the station, and the guys started ribbing me about the mystery woman. I played it cool, didn't say much, but once I got some privacy, I reached into my jacket and pulled out the packet. It was a small, clear bag with a couple of handmade chocolate truffles. Looked like the fancy kind from a boutique shop, and a folded note inside. I unfolded it. It said, "For the kind eyes and steady hands. Alice, 916 asterisk." I stared at it for a second, not sure how to react. I didn't know her name before. Alice. It suited her. Confident, clean. I wasn't used to women like that giving me their number, especially not women who look like that. I slipped the note into my wallet and didn't tell the guys. It wasn't just a note that stuck with me. It was the way she looked at me, like she saw something I didn't even know I was showing. I've been on calls where people cried, screamed, passed out. Alice just smiled. I didn't plan on calling her right away. I figured maybe she was just being polite, or maybe she was testing the waters. Either way, I couldn't stop thinking about her the rest of the day. That kind of calm, confident energy, it stays with you. The shift ended at 8:00 a.m. the next morning, and I went home, showered, walked Rusty, and sat on the porch with a coffee. The sun was just rising. I pulled out the note again, ran my thumb across her name, and that's when I decided I was going to call her. I waited until around noon. Didn't want to seem overeager, but let's be honest, my heart was pounding the whole morning. I must have looked at her name and number a dozen times while I cleaned up the kitchen, folded laundry, did everything I could to look busy. When I finally picked up my phone, I hesitated. What was I even going to say? "Hey, thanks for the chocolates. Want to get dinner with a stranger who sprayed down your kitchen yesterday?" Still, I took a breath and hit call. "Hello," her voice was soft, clear. "Hi, this is Eric, the firefighter from yesterday. You left me a little gift in my jacket pocket." She laughed gently. "I was hoping you'd call. I thought maybe I was being too forward." "Not at all," I said. "I actually really appreciated it. The chocolates were great, but mostly I just wanted to say thank you. Well, thank you for not ignoring it, she said, then paused. You sound different on the phone. Better or worse, better less serious. We talked for a few more minutes. Light conversation. She told me her name was Alice Monroe. She lived alone, worked in interior design freelance, mostly, she said, with a few private clients. No mention of family or relationships, but I didn't press. Eventually, I asked her if she'd like to grab coffee or lunch sometime. There was a short silence, not uncomfortable, but thoughtful. You know what she said? I think I would. We agreed to meet the next day Sunday at a small place downtown called Green Cup Cafe. It was one of those cozy local spots with mismatched chairs, warm lighting, and an owner who knew half the town by name. I got there early naturally and grabbed a corner table. She showed up 10 minutes late, but in a way that felt intentional, like she wanted to be sure I was really waiting. She wore a simple white blouse, jeans, and minimal makeup. But somehow she looked more put together than anyone else in the room. You came, she smiled as she sat down. You expected I wouldn't. I hoped you would, she said, then gave me that look again, the one that made me feel like I was being scanned and understood at the same time. We talked for over an hour. I learned that she used to work in San Francisco, but moved here 8 years ago after some things changed. She never said what, and I didn't pry. She asked about my job, my shift schedule, my family. I told her about growing up here, how I used to chase fire trucks on my bike. She laughed, said she could imagine me doing that, just a smaller version, still wide-eyed and ready to charge into a burning building. There was nothing romantic about that first meeting, no lingering touches, no suggestive smiles, just real conversation. She was easy to talk to, and I found myself surprised at how much I enjoyed her company. It wasn't just that she was beautiful. It was how composed she was, how unbothered. When we parted, she didn't offer a hug or a kiss, just a quiet "I'd do this again." As she stood and picked up her purse, I nodded. Me too. She walked away, and I didn't look back until I heard the door close behind her. Over the next few weeks, we met again, always somewhere public. A park, a wine bar, once at an art exhibit that bored me but fascinated her. Every time we met, she let me in just a little more. She had a dry sense of humor, sharp opinions, and this way of listening that made you forget the world around you. Still, she kept a certain distance. She didn't text much. She never invited me over. If I asked about her past, she gently steered the topic elsewhere. I didn't mind. There was a rhythm to it that worked. I wasn't trying to rush anything, and I wasn't falling for her. Not yet. But I liked where things were going. Then one Friday night, about a month after that first call, we had dinner at a quiet little restaurant out by the lake. It was raining dim outside, candlelight inside. We'd had a couple glasses of wine, and she was in a noticeably softer mood than usual. Tell me something you've never told anyone, she said suddenly, her chin resting on her palm. I hesitated, smiled. I'm not that interesting. Everyone's interesting, she said, especially people who run into fires. I thought for a moment. All right, when I was 14, I set the trash can on fire in the school bathroom by accident. I wanted to see if deodorant spray was flammable. She laughed out loud, one of the first real laughs I'd heard from her. Okay, your turn, I said. She leaned back, eyes scanning the ceiling like she was debating whether to say it. Then she looked at me again. I haven't felt like myself in a long time, she said. There was something about the way she said it. Not sad, not even emotional, just honest. I wanted to ask what she meant, but instead, I reached out and took her hand. She didn't pull away. Later that night, I drove her back to her car. She turned to me before getting out. I have some things I should have told you by now, she said. Like what? She gave me a tired smile. Next time. And she kissed me just once, quick, soft, and stepped out into the rain. I sat there for a while after she left, staring through the windshield as the drops hit the glass, wondering what that next time would be. We kept seeing each other, not often, maybe once or twice a week, but every time felt easy, natural. There was no pressure, no questions about where things were going. It was just two people who liked being around each other, and that was enough. At least it felt that way. We never spent time at her house. She said it was always too messy or that she was in the middle of a project. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't looking for red flags. I wasn't looking for anything, really. I was just enjoying her, the mystery of her, the peace I felt when we talked, the way she made me forget about alarm smoke and the constant hum of adrenaline. After about 6 weeks of seeing each other, she finally invited me to spend the night. It was a hotel, not her place. She booked the room herself and told me to meet her there. I didn't question it. I should have, but I didn't. The hotel wasn't fancy, just a clean, mid-range place a few miles outside of town. She greeted me in the lobby with a kiss on the cheek and a smile that made me forget about the rest of the world. We got dinner from a local Italian spot and ate in the room. She wore a loose sweater, her hair down, no makeup. She looked tired but softer than usual. The walls between us felt thinner that night. She curled up next to me on the bed after we ate, her legs tucked under her wine glass in hand. We talked about everything and nothing. Childhood regrets, things we miss, people we used to be. At one point I asked her, "Is this what you needed?" She looked at me for a moment before replying, "This is the first time in years I haven't felt like I'm running from something." We didn't sleep together that night, not in the way you might think. We kissed, we held each other, and then she fell asleep with her head on my chest and her hand resting on my arm. For the first time in a long time, I felt wanted in a way that wasn't about the uniform or the badge or what I did for a living. It felt personal. I woke up around 6:30 a.m. to the sound of a phone vibrating over and over. Her phone was on the nightstand and the screen kept lighting up. I tried to ignore it at first, thinking it was an alarm or maybe a spam call, but then I saw the name pop up. Love. The word was right there on the screen over and over. Missed call. Another one. Again, same contact. My chest tightened. I didn't want to snoop. I didn't even want to look, but it was hard not to when the phone was lighting up like a fire engine in a dark room. I didn't wake her. I sat there still as stone, trying to process what I was seeing. Eventually she stirred. Her eyes opened slowly and she looked at me with a sleepy smile. "Morning," she whispered. "Your phone's been going off," I said quietly. She reached over, glanced at the screen, and froze. Her smile faded. She looked down, then back at me. "I was going to tell you," she said. I didn't say anything. She sat up slowly, pulling the blanket with her, and took a deep breath. "His name's Daniel. He's my husband." The word hit me like a punch to the gut. "Husband, you're married," I said flatly. She nodded. "For how long?" I asked. 15 years. I stood up, pulling on my jeans. "I don't want to hear more, not yet." "You have kids?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She nodded again. "Two, a son and a daughter. They're in middle school." I felt like an idiot. "I thought you lived alone," I said. "I do. We're separated technically. He lives out of town for work most of the time. But no, we're not divorced, not yet." And all this I asked, gesturing to the room, the bed, the empty wine glasses. "What is this?" She looked down. "It was real for me, Eric. It still is. I didn't plan any of it. I wasn't looking for someone. You just showed up." I let that sit for a moment. I didn't know what to say. "You should have told me," I said. "I know," she whispered. I grabbed my jacket, walked to the door, and stopped. "I don't do this. I'm not that guy." "I know you're not," she said quickly. That's why I couldn't stay away. I left without saying another word. I drove around for a while. No music, just silence, and my own stupid heartbeat thudding in my ears. I wasn't angry, not exactly. I was disappointed. I felt used, even if I believed her when she said it was real. It hurt because I had started to trust her. I had started to picture her in my life, not permanently, but somewhere in some version of the future. And now that was gone. She didn't call that day or the next. I guess we both knew what the silence meant. That night, I threw out the little note she gave me with her name on it. I didn't need it anymore. A week passed, then two. I didn't hear from Alice. Not a call, not a text. I deleted her number, though I'd memorized it by then. I tried not to think about her, but I did. At night, especially during long quiet shifts when the station lights buzzed and the world seemed too still. I caught myself wondering what she was doing, whether her kids knew anything, whether her husband had figured it out. Part of me hated her for putting me in that position, but another part, a part I didn't like to admit, existed. Mister. It was a late Friday afternoon when I ended up in her neighborhood again. I wasn't stalking her or anything like that. I was visiting my cousin who lived 2 blocks away. But when I drove past her street, I slowed down. I couldn't help it. Her house looked the same as before. Neat lawn, big maple tree, and front curtains drawn. I was about to drive on when a silver SUV pulled into the driveway. A man got out. He looked early to mid-40s, dressed in work boots and a jacket covered in drywall dust. He popped the trunk and started unloading bags of groceries. I don't know what came over me, but I pulled over and parked across the street. I sat there for a minute watching him. Then I got out and crossed the road. "Hey," I called out. He turned. His expression was blank polite. "Yeah, I'm sorry to bother you. Are you Daniel?" He looked wary now. "Yeah, who's asking?" I extended my hand. "My name's Eric." I I know Alice." He didn't take my hand right away, just stared at me for a second, then slowly reached out and shook it. "You from work?" he asked. "No, I'm a firefighter. We met during a call at her place a while back. I think we should talk." His brow furrowed. "About what I think you know." He didn't answer right away, just looked at me for a long, tense moment. Then he nodded toward the truck. "Give me a second." He finished unloading, put the bags by the front door, and walked back over to me. "There's a bar around the corner. You drive?" "Yeah." "Follow me," he said. We didn't talk on the way, just drove in silence until we pulled into the gravel lot of a dive bar tucked behind a hardware store. Inside, the lights were dim and the place was mostly empty. We grabbed a booth in the back. He ordered a beer. I got a soda. He took a long drink before finally speaking. "How long?" "About 6 weeks," I said. "I didn't know she was married. Not until recently." He nodded slowly. "And you stopped." "The moment I found out." He looked down at his beer, turning the glass with his fingers. "I figured something was going on," he said quietly. "She's been distant for a long time, cold, but I never thought she'd actually." He didn't finish the sentence, just let it hang in the air between us. "I'm sorry," I said. He let out a short breath. "It's not your fault. If you didn't know, then you didn't know. Can't blame you for that." "I still feel like an idiot," I muttered. He gave a tired smile. "You and me both." Then he started talking, really talking. He told me about how he married Alice when they were both 26. They used to laugh, travel, dream together. Then came the kids, the bills, the house. He worked construction, picked up side jobs, anything to keep the money flowing. Said Alice didn't want to work, insisted that raising the kids and keeping the house in order was enough. "So I worked," he said, "double shifts, nights, weekends. I missed birthdays. I missed anniversaries. I thought I was doing the right thing providing." He took another sip, but she didn't see it that way. Said I was absent. Said I didn't understand her anymore. I tried, man. I really tried, but nothing was enough. She didn't want to go to counseling. Didn't want to talk. Just started pulling away. He shook his head. When she said she wanted space, I moved out for a while. Stayed at my brother's place. Thought maybe that would help. Give her room to breathe. Instead, she found you. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. "Did she ever talk about the kids?" he asked. "Not much," I admitted. He nodded again like he expected that. "They're good kids. Smart, sensitive. They don't know anything. At least not yet." I sat back in the booth. I swear I never would have gotten involved if I knew. "I believe you," he said simply. "You seem like a decent guy." We sat in silence for a few moments. Then he said something that stuck with me. "You know what hurts the most? It's not that she cheated. It's that she didn't even try to fix what was broken. She just gave up, and now I have to pick up the pieces and pretend like it's not killing me." He finished his beer and stood up. "Thanks for being honest, Eric. Most wouldn't." He extended his hand again. This time the shake was firm, genuine. "I don't hold it against you. I just hope she doesn't hurt you the way she did me." I nodded. "Thanks for talking to me." He gave me a nod and walked out. I sat there for a while after he left, just staring at the condensation on my untouched soda, thinking about everything he said. Thinking about Alice, about the way she smiled when she first handed me that note, about the way she kissed me in the rain, about the way she looked me in the eye and said she hadn't felt like herself in years. It was all real. It was all built on a lie. After that night at the bar, I didn't see Daniel again. Didn't hear from Alice either. Weeks went by, then a full month. I buried myself in work, picked up extra shifts, volunteered for night duty, anything to keep my mind busy and my body exhausted. It helped, but not completely. You can't just scrub someone out of your memory like soot off a jacket. Pieces of her lingered in smells and songs in the way the silence settled in my house at night. I wasn't angry anymore. I'd moved past that, but the disappointment stuck around longer than I expected. I didn't tell anyone about what had happened. Not the guys at the station, not my brother, not even my closest friend back home. It wasn't shame exactly. It was just personal something I needed to sit with and process on my own. It wasn't until nearly 2 months later that I heard her name again. I was back on shift doing gear checks in the bay when the captain walked in with a clipboard and a mug of coffee. "Hey, Monroe House, West Side, you know it." I froze for a second. "Alice Monroe." He glanced at the clipboard. "Yeah, you remember her?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "I do. Just figured I'd mention it. Word is she moved out. House is up for rent now. Guy who owns it. Her husband, I guess, came by the station asking about smoke alarm specs. Said he's taking full custody of the kids and redoing the place." I nodded. Got it. That was it. She was gone. No goodbye, no text, no follow-up, just disappeared. Later that week, I drove past her street one last time. Curtains were gone for rent sign in the yard. Kids' bikes no longer on the porch. The house looked colder now. Emptier, like it too had finally let her go. I pulled over across the street and sat for a few minutes. Not because I wanted to see her. I knew she wasn't there, but because I needed that closure to look at the house and know without question that it was over. Not just the relationship, the illusion, because that's what it had been. An illusion dressed up in affection and mystery, a temporary escape for both of us from lives that felt too heavy for her, an escape from a crumbling marriage. For me, from the loneliness I never liked to admit existed. And maybe that's why it hurt so much. Because even if I didn't love her, I wanted to believe she was real. I sat there long enough for the afternoon sun to shift and cast shadows across the driveway. Then I turned the key, pulled away, and didn't look back. Life moved on like it always does. I kept working. A few months later, I was promoted to engineer, which meant less time on the hose and more time driving the rig. I liked it. It gave me something to focus on, something that reminded me of why I got into this job in the first place. Rusty, my dog, got sick for a bit but pulled through. He's still here, older, slower, but still waiting by the door when I get home. I started dating again. Nothing serious at first. Some nice people, a few laughs, a few awkward dinners. Eventually, I met someone who made me feel steady, honest, nothing hidden, no lies. We're not rushing anything, just taking our time, and that feels good. Every now and then I think about Alice, not in a longing way, not with anger, just as a reminder, a chapter that closed a lesson that stuck. I remember the way she looked at me the first time we met, like I was someone special, like I'd walked into her life at the exact right moment. But timing doesn't fix everything, and not every connection is meant to last. Sometimes people come into your life not to stay, but to show you what you won't accept again. And I'm okay with that now, really. Eric and Alice's story teaches us the profound lesson of valuing our self-respect and learning from heartbreak to recognize what we truly deserve. At 28, Eric, a dedicated firefighter, was drawn to Alice's elegance and warmth, believing their connection was genuine. Her omission of her marriage shattered that trust, leaving Eric grappling with disappointment, not just in her, but in the illusion of what they shared. His choice to confront Alice's husband, Daniel, wasn't about anger, but about reclaiming his integrity. Through their raw conversation, Eric saw the pain of a fractured marriage and realized he deserved honesty, not secrecy. This painful chapter didn't define him. It refined him, teaching him to seek relationships built on truth. Eric's journey from betrayal to closure reminds us that life's hardest moments often reveal our worth. We may fall for illusions, but recognizing them empowers us to demand better. In a world full of hidden truths, let's honor ourselves by choosing connections that reflect our value, learning from pain to build a future grounded in authenticity. What did Eric's story teach you about trust or self-worth? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. If this story touched you, please subscribe and join our community for more stories that inspire resilience and growth. Let's keep learning life's lessons together.